right, welcome back to Case Studies. I have been looking forward to connecting and hearing the origin story of Cupbop for a long time. You know, I've heard it, I've heard pieces of it, but I haven't like ever fully been able to bring the whole thing together, and specifically how it works with one, just where Cupbop originated, and then two, how you guys partnered up. And then I think ultimately, like three, like your vision for this brand. It's so much different than other companies in that there's so many Korean ties. It's very much a part of Korea. And it's a part of bringing Korea to America and that like partnership between the two countries and kind of the American dream of starting with nothing and creating something. And so there's so much more to it than just the dollars and cents and the food and everything like that. So welcome, guys.
Well, thanks for having us. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, so Jung, I want to go back to the very beginning when you were living in Korea. On what were you going to do when you grew up? Like I remember hearing that story of like just the desire to go to America, but also like not the traditional Korean way, if you would.
Right. I didn't want to come to US. I didn't like it because I don't, as you can see, I got strong accent. Because I never studied in Korea. I didn't like it. I don't like it. I don't want to learn any other language because I had a dream in Korea. I just falling in love with the dance, hip hop dance. That is my whole life things. That was my everything. So I don't have any think about any other stuff. Only dance and dance and dance.
The B-boy.
That was my whole things.
And so like how did it go from not interested in school, I mean, traditional Korean culture, and even if you like look at Yuri, your wife, and like her upbringing is a lot different than your upbringing, and even your upbringing. You know, like there's just this culture about education and how important education is.
Very big emphasis, yes.
Yeah, and so like, how did it go from that to kind of getting through to ending up in Utah?
I did it pretty good for the B-boy. I was a professional dancer.
So you were a professional.
I was, yes. When I was in high school and after high school, that was my job. So I practiced 6 to 8 hours every single day.
Holy crap. That's incredible.
They just paid me a little bit, but it was my dream and I enjoyed it.
You loved it. That's
why I can do 6 hours, 8 hours every single day. But, you know, I just want to be a professional dancer. Also, I want to make an album in Korea. But
there's a good story.
But, you know, I record my little CD that time.
Yeah.
But my manager came out one day, sitting down, and he gave me some kind of little advice. Said, "Hey, Jung, I love you. You know how much I love you." I said, "Yeah." He said, like, touch my shoulders and say, "But you know, your face, it's not enough." Seriously. Oh, it hurt. So I thought that when I was young, if I do really well, I think I can overcome. You know what I'm saying?
But he gave you advice. What did he want you to become, Jung? Remember?
He said, "Hey, your personality is a little funny, so you can be famous comedians, but not the K-pop way." That night, I cried. I cried like baby. And I think about it, and I thought, I think he's true. So I dropped the ball that night, man. I cry all day. Because, you know, most of my life, I spent so much time, and he wake me up. You understand?
So he's saying you're ugly. He's like, I'm not liking those looks.
Yeah.
You don't look
you're
like
not for TV.
You don't look like the K-pop people that are
Comedian,
on the.
maybe.
So what do you do with that? Like, where'd you go?
So after that, I drop it. It's the first time ever in my life I was so confused in my life because I had one dreams. My dream is fall down.
Yeah.
I don't have any B plan and C plan that time. So I cried a couple days, was hurt, and couldn't sleep because usually after school, I practice 6-8 hours. So usually I don't sleep. One of the best friends actually came to me, say, hey, Jung, you're struggling so much. Let's get us some job in the nighttime. But high school, like 16, 17 years old, can't work the nighttime. But we found one space. What do they have that kind of service in US?
It's like a club, kind of.
Club?
Yeah, kind of a club.
It's like room salon. We call the room salon. So like the store has a little tiny rooms everywhere.
It's like a bunch of karaoke's.
And they just drink it with the, invite the girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they actually open until whole night. So me and my best buddy, went there. We got an interview. We're hiding our high school uniforms, pretending little, over 20 years old. And hey, can I be the waiters? And that owner really liked me. Okay, let's try it. And I did a really good job. I'm making so many tips. Then that's the first time I actually smelled the money. Because, I care about the people because all the customers need extra service. So I do my best. Hey, open your hand. So I lead the palm lines. Hey, you got big eye. That means, hey, your life is going to be good. Hey, your nose. Oh, look at your nose. Hey, man, you'll be really popular. Stuff like that. I just using my
That's
whole
so
power,
good.
get a tip. And that city, I'm the number one waiters. Making so much tip from the customer. I'd be super popular at that time. So I actually get experience from the business point wise. Oh, this is a business. Buying a little squid. Like in front of some traditional market in Korea, that store has a big market. So I bought a bunch of squid because Korean love squid. Bunch of squid, paid $10. But the business selling one squid, selling $15. What is this one? They bought a bunch of squid with a $10, selling one squid with a $15. Wow, this is amazing. So that's the first time I
Started understanding
the
business
business.
and
Yes.
profit and cost of goods and all of these things were at a young age, what, 17, 18 years old? 17. And so where to go from there? Like where to go from getting your first taste of being an entrepreneur, which I think for me, being a waiter was the first time, the first job where I realized if I'm better at my job, I can make more money.
Yeah.
If I bring more energy, if I provide better service, I can make double or triple what the person next to me makes.
Right.
Where up until that, you get paid by the hour and so you're more limited. And being a waiter, for me, same time in high school, I had the same experience.
So answer your first question. Let me finish this one. And my mom saw me. I was happy because, I smelled the business from that experience. My mom and my dad worry about me. So in Korea, after high school, I need to go to military, no matter what. So BTS right now, they're serving military. No matter what, how popular you are,
You're in it.
you have to, because North Korea, South Korea, they're still fighting. So we have to protect our country. So all the young generation has no handicap. Then you gotta go.
Yeah.
So I applied the military. I served 2 years and 2 months. I have to serve.
Yeah.
After that point, my mom came to the military camps asking me to, hey, Jung, your sister's studying at the Utah. Why don't you spend some little time with your sister? Why don't you look at some big world?
To go get out of Korea, to go experience the world, go see something that's different.
But I don't want to go. I didn't want to go that time because I never study. I don't speak English at all. I only can say, oh, hello, my name's Jung. That's it.
Yeah. So you were nervous
So
just
I
because
was
of
really
the language.
nervous.
Yeah.
But my mom said, okay, stay 6 months in Utah. Then if you like to come back, then you can do whatever you want. Can you make the deal? That's my mom asked me to. I said, okay, I can't stay with the 6 months. People want to go US, but for the traveler wise, everybody actually want to go to US to see big world.
Yeah.
And that was like, okay, let me try 6 months and come back and do some dance or still do some business.
Yeah.
That was the start to came here in Utah
Yeah.
to study a little bit for 6 months.
It's cool. So you get here. What happened?
First week, I stayed in Provo because I went BYU ESL program. Usually Koreans study all their life for the English. They have a level 1 to 5 level.
Yeah.
So usually Koreans, when they get the test, usually level 4 or 5 because they usually study. I got level 1.
Wow. So you're starting at the bottom.
Like, after ABCD, I learned everything from there. So I actually learned, okay, my name is Jung. What time is it? What's your name? Those kind of sentences I literally learned from the ESL.
So you come here, you're with your sister. When did the idea of Cupbop come up? Like, when did you have this idea?
Because if I have to come in US, I need F1 visa. That's a student visa.
Yep.
That if I come with F1 visa, I have to study. I can't work here. That's illegal. I don't want to do illegal. So I studied a little bit. I didn't like it. First week, I didn't even say anything. So one day I wake up, I open my mouth, the like poop smell come up from my mouth. Because I never opened my mouth. So I thought, what am I doing right now here? Anyway, I'm gonna spend 6 months here. Am I doing still like that? No making friends. Just don't go outside. That was like really, really hard for me. So I decided, okay, anyway, I'm gonna spend the 6 months. Let's do my best. So at that point, I go outside making friends and hanging out. I tried to study a little bit, but I didn't like it.
Not too much.
At all. I don't like sitting. This is hard. I have to move. But one day I just calculate a little bit. Okay, every per semester, I need to pay this much. If I have to go graduation, it's got to be 5-6 years. So I calculated. It's got to be big money. What if I invest this money to small business in US? So I searched a little bit. I talked to the little lawyers, and they have an E2 visa in US. It's like small business visa.
Yeah.
So every 2 years I have to renew it, but I can have my own job. So, okay, rather than spend per semester for my tuitions, let's collecting and investing. That's why we start my small business.
And the first small business was?
It was with my brother-in-law, dental technicians, making tooth.
Really?
Sitting here for 8 hours making tooth.
That was the first business.
That was my first business with my brother-in-law. I thought I'm gonna die.
you hated it.
But that time I got married with my wife, Yeti. I have a full responsibility.
Yeah.
I can't do like whatever I want anymore.
And so how did you get Yuri? Because she's
a top student at
she's
BYU.
top
yes.
student at BYU.
Studied
So
really well.
so like
She was popular.
driven, popular, and you're like all over the place, charismatic. Like, how did that happen?
She studied at the BYU. Her major was finance. I was studying at the Solar Community College that time.
Yeah.
And she actually coordinate Asian Festival in BYU. And she's actually performing about the Korean cultures and dance. And one of the part was the little hip hop dance they have to showing up.
Yeah.
And one of her friend said, hey, there's some guy used to hip hop pretty good in Korea. His name Jung. Let's invite him. So Yeri said, I heard his name. Yeah, I don't like him.
Really?
Yeah, because I dated with her friend.
Okay.
So she didn't like me. But her friend just convinced her, but he's a nice guy. Why don't you just invite him to meet a little bit and learn from him.
Yeah.
So she contacted me. Hey, Jung, my name's Yeti. Can you come over to look at my, little dance move? Can you just give me some little feedback? So that's why I came to Provo, meet the Yeti. That's how we met each other.
Wow. So you guys met, end up getting married, but now you're feeling the responsibility of like building something.
Yeah, big responsibility.
Yeah. So how did it go from that to the first food truck?
So one day I was sitting in the dental lab making tooth. I almost like dying.
You hated it.
Because I can't, because sittings like 5 minutes gotta be hard for me. But full responsibility because I need to take care of my family, so I have to do it, but I didn't like it. So I talked Yeti a little bit. She said, no, because you don't have any skill. What are you gonna do? I say, hey, here's my idea. Actually collecting my whole idea, and here we go. She didn't like it at all.
She didn't like it.
But one last idea was little coupon business idea. Because at that time we have no money, right? So Yeti always cutting the coupons, putting her coupon bag, many of them inside.
Yeah.
So whenever we go to Walmart or Smith,
She'd have all the
she
savings.
trying to bring that one, trying to find it. When she actually finally, it expires already over us. Couldn't using it. So my idea was bought 15 cents VIP card. Bring to the restaurant and show the VIP card, unlimited deal. So like individual deal, buy one get one free deal, and the catering deals.
Yeah.
So individual restaurant gave you 3 different deal. So whenever I show the card, the VIP card, I get a deal. So I actually had a deal with about 400 restaurants till I made it.
She went out to 400 restaurants and got them to say yes.
That means I literally visit 3,000 to 4,000 restaurants.
That's crazy.
By myself. So that point, this is a really important part because I don't know anything about the restaurant business. But through those experience, I met so many restaurant owners, Chinese restaurant, Japanese restaurant, burger restaurants,
Yeah.
so many restaurants. And I actually literally making some little note. If I want to do some business, I never gonna do this. I have to do this. I got some list. Learn from the old owners. Why this restaurant got closed in 3 months? Super nice. Why this guy's doing really well?
Yeah.
So those all ideas
So you
from
started learning.
4,000
Yeah.
restaurant owner, actually face in face, and I got an important message. So that's why when I create the Cupbop, that was all idea and source from those experiences.
So like formal education you've never been into, but as far as like being educated. And
Like you,
Yeah.
you knocked the door.
Yeah,
That's how we started vegan, right?
Yeah, like my track is very, very similar. Where for me, this is education. Like
Yeah.
talking to entrepreneurs who are actually doing it and learning the little tips and habits and the way they think. And like for me, that's where I've got the most.
Right.
Is the hearing the stories of people who are actually doing it. And so, but you were just doing that. You were going out, meeting them, and paying attention, noticing, taking notes. And that helped you when you started your first one to know. Because I remember we were talking about it and you kind of said, like, what are the characteristics of In-N-Out Burger? What are the characteristics of
Right, that's-
Jimmy
yeah.
John? What's the,
Yeah.
and kind of taking all of these pieces of like, that's a great quick serve restaurant. They do this really well.
Yeah.
Even on the sauces, I remember we were having this conversation about Cupbop, and you're like, Cupbop needs to have flavors that are familiar to Americans.
Right.
We're not trying to like
Right.
push Korean flavors on Americans. We're trying to bring American flavors and tie it into
Right.
the Korean experience. I thought it was just like very innovative, very insightful. You know what I mean? And probably
Yeah.
a mistake that a lot of Korean restaurants make.
Yeah. It's a different market. It's a
trying to
completely
get
different
people
market.
to
Right.
like what they like versus saying, how do I go
Yeah.
and connect with something that they already like?
That's right.
Anyway, it was fascinating. So you start first food truck.
Yeah.
How'd it come about?
The first day we sold out.
Did you go buy it? Did you buy a truck?
So one day I went University of Utah trying to make the deal because I literally visit every restaurant, right? And I actually make a little team up with the University of Utah selling a VIP card. VIP card cost 12 cents. I sold $35 here.
Wow.
I got almost 40,000 members in Utah.
It was a great business.
It was. And every year they only have to buy another ones.
Yeah.
But unlimited deal.
Yeah.
If you buy burger, you got another one for free. Unlimited. You can go 100 times per day.
Yeah.
Still. So you don't need a coupon. Just register. We're gonna print your names, show you the card, buy one, get one free all the time.
Wow.
So it's a great deal. So one day I tried to make a restaurant business, I mean the restaurant owners in University of Utah. We got 40% discount deal in the campus, showing the VIP card. They got a 40% discount. But not the lunchtime, after 1 p.m. Because anyway, they making bunch of food. If they didn't sell, they have to throw it away.
Yeah. Oh,
So
smart.
anyway, for the school-wise, okay, I don't want to throw it away. Okay, showing the VIP card, I'll give you a 40%.
So literally they were wasting food. And so they're basically saying, well, yeah, we'll sell it at a discount if people buy it at this time because we're going to give it away anyway.
So after 1 p.m. And I make the director, his name is, what was he?
Brandon.
The Brandons. He's the guy, actually. I make the deal with the Brandons. He loved the concept. And he literally said, oh, okay, hey, they have some food truck in the library. Why don't you check it out, Jung? So he gave me some information. I went there, and that's my first time seeing food truck in Utah. That time, I got, wow, this is what I want. Have a food truck in US? Because I didn't know, right? So I tried one food trucks, had the longest line. There were 20 people stand up in the front food trucks. I was so hungry, so I waited and tried their food. I'm not gonna say that brand.
Yeah.
It was okay.
It wasn't that good.
It wasn't just okay.
And you were waiting for a long time.
Yes. And so I thought simply, okay, if I can make better than this, so I can line up 30, 40 people, let's do it. So that night I bought the truck. I didn't even think about it. That night I just
cool
invested
is
whole
that?
money and bought the trailer.
That's so cool.
Can you tell him the story about the trailer?
So he bought the trailer, right? He goes to pick up the trailer, and the seller's like, hey, where's the truck to pull the trailer? Jung's like, oh, I need a truck to pull this? Oh, shoot, I'll be back.
So I'll be
He
back
had no
1 month.
idea. That's a good
Because
story.
I have no idea.
And Cupbop ended up being like this smashing success. It was almost kind of had like this cult following. And I think ultimately that's where you came into the mix was you were a fan. Like you liked it. You admired, you liked the food and the culture and the vibe and just kind of what it brought.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how you guys met.
Yeah, so I met Jung. We overlapped only actually a few months. It was a few months before I was leaving to go to New York.
Because I had a friend that I worked with named Mitch Dummett.
Oh yeah, we went to
And,
BYU
and,
together.
and Mitch, the way he talks about Doc, he just said Doc was the smartest person in the class. He was a star. Like you excelled in education, you know, like, and ultimately end up going to New York and working in New York in finance.
Yeah.
But there was that window where you guys, like, you were still being an entrepreneur, building Cupbop, and you were just a customer.
I was just a customer. It was my dream to, work in finance in New York. And that was kind of, story of its own. It's there are a couple reasons I ended up getting into finance. Number one was I got just randomly, my dad, when I was in middle school, got into day trading. And I thought, what is that? Started getting into it. I said, hey, give me some money. Let me try this too. It was looking at some technical charts and things like that. And I ended up, I think it took a few days to lose everything. And then I went back to my dad, got some more money, lost it all. And I was like, man, there's got to be a better way. This is BS. It's like, there's got to be something more fundamental. So that was my first exposure. And then what happened, as I was going into high school, my dad's business went into bankruptcy. And so the whole family just collapsed. And it was like, oh, shoot, like they essentially bet everything on the kids. And so we could kind of see, my brother and I and my little sister, we could kind of see what was happening. And the first thing we thought about was, okay, how do we make a lot of money?
Yeah.
Like, what can we do to make sure that our family stands back up?
So you seeing your dad go through, your mom and dad go through this really hard time.
Yeah.
There was this like urgency.
Oh,
to
it was
say,
a big urgency to, okay, because we were very well off before. Obviously, you know, we were in the 90s. Sending 3 kids over to the U.S. is not, you know, it wasn't an easy thing to do. And that everything went completely belly up. And so at that time, I remember going into BYU and just Googling. I was like, where do you make the most money? And it said, if you work at a hedge fund on Wall Street, you get paid a lot. I was like, okay, that's what I have to do then. And so, yeah, I set a goal to go to Wall Street and go join a hedge fund.
Yeah.
And along the way, I think it was 3-4 months before I left for New York to join Goldman, which was my first job out of BYU, I saw this bright yellow truck, and it said Korean barbecue in a cup. And obviously I'm Korean. And there aren't a lot of, you know, Koreans or, you know, Korean restaurants at that time. So that really intrigued me. Obviously I was in line right away. I got to try this thing. And as soon as I had it, I loved it. It was very different. And, you know, I came to the States when I was 11. So I had a pretty decent understanding of both kind of the authentic Korean cuisine side. And I love my authentic Korean food, but also I have kind of that
The Americanized,
McDonald's,
yeah.
Taco Bell,
That's his
soul
favorite soul
food,
food.
right? From my middle school days. And as soon as I had this, I thought, wow, I've never had something like this. But it's such a good marriage between the two.
Between the two, my wife, when she was in high school, her and her friends would just pound Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Like, loved it. And if you know my wife, it's so funny because, like, she just, like, you know, now she's super into, like, organic and then all, like, the really, like, great quality food. But every once in a while, like, if she's on a trip, it's a great delicacy for her to sneak off and go get Taco Bell, you know? And so there's some of this stuff that it just gets in your, like
It's
in your
nostalgia, and
DNA,
it does
like
get
a
into-
teenager, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Absolutely. And it all ties into Cupbop, and we can talk about that. But yeah, ultimately, I tried it, and I thought, wow, what a great concept. And I was a fan. They would come around once a week. So I would go line up every week up until, obviously, I was leaving for New York. And I think that kind of the last visit, I made sure I went to Jung and said, hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to New York. You guys have an incredible brand. You guys are going to be very successful. You know, come to New York. And then I left, and
Wow.
you know, and I was doing my thing in New York for the next probably 7 years or so.
So you went and kind of went on the journey in New York.
I went on my
And
journey.
worked where in New York?
So I started at Goldman Sachs.
Just in kind of an analyst role?
So equity research. So my job was to research investments.
Yeah.
Public equities in energy sector and industrial sector. But I still had that goal to get to a hedge fund because that was the goal. And the investment banks are what you call, you know, generally sell side, where they're advising the buy side, which are, you know, the private equity firms, hedge funds, and all sorts of different buy side funds. And so I spent about 2.5 years at Goldman and thought, okay, I need to make this jump. And a recruiter reached out, said, hey, there's an opening at a big hedge fund. Ended up being Citadel. I thought, wow, that would be crazy.
Which is one of the most like prestigious hedge
yeah,
funds in the
Citadel,
world right now, right?
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is officially the most profitable hedge fund in history in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. And so I was a little bit intimidated, but thought, hey, why not? So I ended up interviewing with them. You know, it was a long process, but was fortunate enough to get in. And started my journey at Citadel in 2015, early 2015. And yeah, I joined as a junior, essentially. First year spent supporting a senior analyst who managed a lot of me. So we had 5 people on the team. We managed just over $2.5 billion between the 5 of us.
That's always been the thing that just blows my mind.
Oh, it's
Is
crazy.
how much operating leverage those hedge funds have. I mean,
It's-
you've got a team of 5 people
Yeah.
that are not like passively
this
managing $2.5 million. You're
is-
actively.
Very actively, because half of our position short, right? So Citadel is market neutral. So essentially, we hedge out, in the truest sense, all of the market factors, all the longs with shorts. And so my first year, I didn't manage money. I was supporting my senior. And then it was my second year. One day, my portfolio manager tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, when did you graduate, Doc? I said, 3 years ago. He's like, okay, you're ready then. He's like, you're going to get $100 million to manage starting next month. So put your, portfolio together in this new sector that we're not currently covering. It's like, okay. And started doing that. Didn't sleep for a while. The first while, it gets,
It's got to be addicting.
it is addicting. It's stressful. Every morning you wake up and the first thing you do, you're checking your Bloomberg to see if any news hit. And for that split second, you kind of want to throw up.
You're like hoping
because
it's not like
the biggest
the global
nightmare,
financial crisis
or the biggest is one of my biggest, let's say, short positions, let's say, gets bought out and there's an M&A, then
or
I'm
like a
screwed.
GameStop scenario.
then
that's
I'm
like,
screwed.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
worst case.
And so I did that I spent about 4.5 years at Citadel. At the time I resigned, my portfolio was about 40 million.
Wow. It's incredible.
And so, yeah. And it's literally just 5 people. That's it. You make your own shots and you learn to make decisions quickly. Because when something happens, and one thing that you really have to learn is to be just brutally honest with yourself intellectually. Because if you don't do that, we all, humans have tendencies to fall in love with our own ideas.
Of course.
And the worst thing that could happen is, let's say you got into this stock for these reasons, and they end up not being true, and they get proven out that these are not true. What
You got to be able
generally
to cut
what
your
people
losses.
do is they'll say, yeah, that didn't work out, but these things are happening, and I like that. And you just
justify.
justify, and they never work. And so, but you also have to learn to double down big when you have to.
When you have conviction.
When you have conviction. So it's putting in the work and making the bet and having that conviction. Because there were times where, I would have a big blow up on one of my stocks, or longs or shorts,
But
where
you
I'd
still
be down.
felt it was right.
Oh yeah, and my PM is like, Doc, what the F? Like, we got to make a decision in the next hour because that's where, we have a lot of liquidity today because it's earnings. And it's like, we're doubling. This is an opportunity. And you never want to show that you are wishy-washy or waffling.
You gotta
it's
be
either,
certain.
nope, I was wrong, F it, we're out. Or, this is such a good opportunity. I'm calling the trader. I'm going to tell him to pound as much as we can today, right? And so
cool.
So you live that life, and it's a different, it's a very different animal. Very interesting, a lot of responsibility. Very stressful, and it's like it's a revolving door.
But you're not Latter-day Saint, right?
No, I'm not LDS. So I was the 1% non-LDS.
Yeah, so
at
like,
BYU.
so how BYU? Because like that's predominantly a church school.
Yes. A big part of it at the time was BYU was kind enough to give me like a full ride scholarship before when I was admitted for 4 years. And at the time we had no money, and I was comfortable because I lived in Utah. I always knew BYU was a great school. Had a lot of friends here too.
Yeah.
And so I thought, yeah, great. Like, we got to go. We get best bang for your buck, great education. Which going to BYU was I think, one of the best decisions I've made. Like, there's so much talent at BYU. It's ridiculous.
No,
and I've seen a lot of talent between a lot of different firms, but BYU's awesome.
You loved
awesome
it.
School. I love BYU.
So you go to New York. Then how do you guys link back up? Because 7 years is a long time.
Yeah,
like
it's
that's
a
not
long
like
time.
and we, I met you through Kevin and Todd Santiago. And we ended up being just investors in a store or in a couple of stores.
Right.
And it was kind of the same thing. These guys just loved the brand and said, hey, let's go put some money into some stores. And so we kind of started down that road.
Yeah.
And along the way, that was when you guys linked up and you kind of left a track that's a very formal,
Right.
prestigious
Very
track
glamorous.
to step into an entrepreneurial role.
Yeah.
Which I admire that decision so much, but probably the same thing as like the stocks. You have to have conviction and you've got to go
100%.
and you've got to believe.
Yeah, because a lot of people thought I was actually crazy.
Yeah.
Leaving Citadel to join, I think at the time was barely a 10-unit restaurant brand. And out of all sectors, restaurants, which is generally perceived to be a very
Volatile.
tooth and nail, tough
tough.
business. It was, I always knew one day I wanted to grow a business.
Yeah.
Investing has its own, exhilarating factors, the highest highs, lowest lows, you know about that. But I always knew I want to build something, and food was never actually in the picture. So I started looking into joining startups or things like that where I could get on early and really help build. And I'd been thinking about it for a few years, just couldn't pull the trigger because you start getting more comfortable.
Yeah.
With things like
you kind of
that.
get the golden handcuffs a little bit.
Yes, and that kind of my final year there, I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the jump. Like what am I going to lose if things don't work out? I just come back.
Yeah.
Like that was what I thought. People thought it was a lot of risk, but counterintuitively, I'm like,
There's not that much risk.
no, I can come back.
I've
I've done a pretty good job. I can come back.
I did great in school. I worked at
Yeah.
Goldman. I worked at Citadel. I got a great resume.
Yeah, I
I
was like,
can
I'll come
have
back.
that.
Exactly. And so I started looking at a number of different startups, mostly in tech. Got a few offers from companies at different, various stages. And thought, it's not that attractive. And number one, it's partly because, I wasn't going to be a founder. A lot of these tech startups, unless you're kind of the first, really small group of members, you don't get that much equity, number one. And as you go through the various series rounds, and you get diluted. And the only way to make out, even financially too, really big is, it's got to be a
It's got to be a big outcome.
massive
It's got to be a
exit.
big
I thought,
outcome.
It's like, what's the chances of that? And I'm not even making the calls. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not even calling the shots. So I thought, okay, maybe there are other industries. So I started just thinking, and one day, Cupbop just popped up in my head. I was like, man, that brand, how is that brand doing? So I literally went onto Facebook, Cupbop's page, looked at it, and I was like, I gotta call Jung. We were Facebook friends because I was a customer. So
It's
I ended up calling him.
It's got to be like I'm like super spiritual, religious person. Big believer in God. But there's some of these things. It's like there's got to be something bigger that's just calling to you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I was like,
something
I
just
gotta call this guy. So
Yeah,
I
it just pops into your
I just
mind,
messaged him and said, hey, can we talk? And we talked, and I essentially asked him about the business, where things were, how where the business was at, and Jung gave me a little bit of a rundown. And in my head, it was pretty clear that, man, it's clear the brand is awesome. There's a lot of demand for the brand. And it's literally at that point where you either scale or fold. Because you can brute force open restaurants, probably 8 or so, and without a lot of structure, and it starts
breaking,
collapsing, right?
Yeah.
And Cupbop was right at that point, and I thought, okay, I could probably try and help scale. I don't know why I thought that, because I've never run a business.
Yeah.
But I just thought I bet I could, do some damage. And so I just pitched Jung, and I said, hey, let me come in as a partner. We can take this to a national brand.
Yeah.
And what attracted me so much to Cupbop was, number one, I love the brand. That always helps. Because I don't think, if it was any other restaurant brand, I wouldn't have joined. There's no way. It had that Korean tie with me, right? Because I'm Korean. Yep. And it was the thought that, man, there's so many successful hedge fund managers in New York who make so much money, but nobody's been able to create a national brand out of Korean cuisine. Like, we could be the first ones.
You could go be like, you could go do something that no one's ever done.
Oh, that
fired you up.
I was like, okay, that's the coolest thing ever. Okay, I'm going to do this. So I talked to my wife. She was like, I just moved to New York 2 years ago. I'm not going back. I said, hey, this thing, we're going to scale this up the wazoo. It's going to be a national brand. We're going to do it. So I convinced my wife, and ended up joining in July of 2019.
Wow. So
4.5 years ago.
Now, 4.5 years ago. Yeah. That's so crazy.
I still remember when he texted me. But that time, Cupbop food trucks, whenever I park, I got the line.
Yeah.
If I park in the highway, I got line. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. No,
because the best day, in 2 hours in lunch, I was selling 400 cups. At the nighttime, another 400 cups. I got longest line. It was a hit. So many people reaching me out, hey, do you need the money? I want to invest. So many people. That's the Kevin is one of the guys.
Yeah.
He didn't give up 3 years. He just chasing me and bothering me, stalking me. I said, like, who is this guy, man? I don't talk to you. Just go away. Just never give up. Hey, how about this job? Hey, let me find this one. Let me help you this. I said, go away. I don't want to talk to you. I don't speak well. Just go away. Just eat. Just support me. That's it. But he texted me. He want to talk to me. I said, yeah. And he said, like, hey, this is what I done. Blah, 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 blah. The first thing I said, just stay your job. You're expensive. You're not gonna like this. You never know the the food truck life. Just stay there. Just making a lot of money. And I remember he said, Jung, remember this. If you're not hiring me, you will regret so much. When I hear that, little sentence from this guy, I feel like if I don't hire him, I'm gonna regret. That's hitting my mind. So I said, okay, then I need to hire you. So I said, okay, we might have a little chance. I can bring you in, but give us a little time. Because that time I have some other partners. I tried to talk to them.
Yeah.
Everybody say no.
No one wanted.
No.
Because there was a lot of partners. Yeah.
They say no, we don't need Dok. No, why? No. And the most important thing is the Yeti, my wife. I asked her, she said, I think we need him 2-3 years later. Not right now, because we can't pay him.
Which is probably like wise, know, like it was probably too early.
Yeah.
To have somebody come in a like heavy operations role.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately, like, how did you bridge that gap?
But my personality, if I want to do it, I have to do it. No matter what, I have to do it. So I asked her, because I don't want to fight with my wife. So I asked her, okay, why? because the company has no money to pay those expensive guy. So, okay. So the problem is the money. So if I making the money, can we bring me in? Say, Yeti, big smile on her face. Yeah, I give some little tip. Spend a little on a lot. Can you do it? So I said, okay. That's the first time I think about the money. Want to bring in this stuff. So what I do, I have some ramen concept store, a couple locations. So I spend $30,000-$40,000 putting the Cupbop concept in the ramen. That's why a couple location, Orem, downtown, Layton, has a ramen and Cupbop together.
Yeah.
So I spent $40,000 adding Cupbop, making big giant sales. So we already built up the store with a ramen concept.
Yeah.
Spent only $30,000.
Small investment.
So usually making $40,000 to $50,000 per month, those ramen store. But when I adding the Cupbop, more than $100,000 sales bump up. So
changed the store. That
Yeah,
that created the profit to be able to hire you.
So I told the Yeti, what do you think? Yeah, let's go. So
That wasn't a lot. Trust me, it wasn't a lot. Because Yeri, I remember talking to Yeri, and she said, "Hey, we have no money," and I wasn't going there for it was to grow the pie. So yes,
we only paid 10%. What you?
I was like, I don't care about the sale. I don't care about what it. I just don't. It's like that's not why I'm coming. Like we gotta
You just
grow
wanted
this.
some equity. You wanted a part.
Yes.
Like if you built something that you'd be able to participate in the growth story.
Right. I was like, I'll bet on myself. Like, I know we can do this together, and then that's how we'll bet. And so, yeah, that's how I ended up joining.
Oh, it's such a good story.
In 19, yeah, I can't believe it's already been 4.5 years. That's crazy.
So talk to me about like that process of going from 10 stores to your, how many stores now?
Now we got, how many? 57?
57.
57 stores.
Yeah.
So
57
you're
in
almost
US.
six times as big,
Yeah.
but also like a pretty
got
big international presence.
We got 170 stores in Indonesia.
170.
170.
Yeah. 181.
Now,
No, actually more than that.
every Monday.
I talked to them yesterday. I had a late night call with them with our partners. They have the 181 combo stores, 13 Cupbop standalone. So they're getting close to 200. They have another 30 combo stores that they'll be putting in this year. So it's
Number one Korean concept in Indonesia in history-wise.
Well, and this was me just being ignorant. I think about Indonesia, and I don't think it's that big. Indonesia's massive.
Oh, their population?
Number 4 in the world.
Number 4 in the world.
Number 4 in the world. Like I remember hearing that, and I'm like, I've got no context on Asia and
it's a big.
It's a massive country.
It's a big country. It's a big country. There a lot of people. It's a big market.
Yeah. So
sure.
we're probably jumping off track, but talk to me about how you got into Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Yeah,
Another stalker.
Yeah, this is a great story.
You explain.
You gotta explain.
One of the two brothers, they chasing me my trucks everywhere, like the Kevin.
But brothers of who?
It's like two Asian Indonesians. The customer, let's say the customer, that time, they just love Cupbop food trucks so much, and they chasing me every single locations. Whenever I park, those two brothers stand on the line. They say, "Hi, Jung." I said, "Oh, shoot again," because I love it.
Yeah.
Because I know where they live, but whenever I go to some Spanish Fork, some festivals,
They're coming down there.
Orms, two brothers, every single festival fair, they join it with us and line up, say, shaking the hair. Two little tiny Asian brothers just stand up all the time, smile, "Hey, Jung." So I thought, because I never seen they drive in the car. They always walk around two brothers and make the line. So I thought, maybe poor students has no money, but they are hungry. So whenever they come, not all the time, but most of the time, I give you a free bowl. Hey, here, eat this. They keep coming back and they eating like crazy. They're not even chewing. They just drinking the Cupbop. And they look at me in my face and say, hey, give me the bowl. So I fill it up, another one, give you a bunch of a free mandu, and they love it. One day, Alvin, their name is Alvin and Devin. Alvin is old brother. Devin is younger brother. So Alvin came to me and said, hey, I'm interested in franchise. Hey, can I bring the Cupbop to Indonesia? I said, because that time we got so popular and so many people reaching me out. I said, let me think about it. I run into one trucks. I have no system. I don't want to go to Indonesia. Where's Indonesia? It's like 24 hours from here to there. So like, let me think about it. But I love them so much.
Yeah.
So I just told them, hey, how about this? Let me think about 1 year and you think about 1 year. So let's talk about after 1 year. If we're not changing the mind, then let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So one day I working hard at the trucks. Arvin and Devin came, said, hey, we have to go back to Indonesia because, my visa is almost done. Then, I have to go back to meet my family. Jung, you remember you said 1 year after, if still, you say something about it, right? I said, it's already been 1 year? Okay, what do you want me to do? Because I want to keep my promise.
Yeah.
So what do you want me to do? Just come to Indonesia and check the market. And if you like it, let's give us a shot. Okay, let me check your country. So I actually meet there at the airport. This is a true story, okay? One big limousines came at the airport. Driver came out and holding my whole bag and put it in the Jung. He take me to his corporate company. They got 50,000 people work there.
50,000.
50,000. They got 10 richest family in Indonesia.
It's one of the largest conglomerates in Indonesia.
Wow.
That's where they're
F&B,
from.
number one F&B in Indonesia, right?
Yeah, one of the biggest.
One of the
food
biggest.
and beverage. Yeah.
One of the biggest.
And so, yeah, Jung had no idea. And,
Well,
and you would never know
When
from.
it was kind of a crazy, they had a really cool culture where in this family, they would send their kids to the U.S., right?
Yes, because that family, how they teach their second generations, sending every different country, England, Canada, U.S., different country, they're sending all their generations.
Send their kids out, and they have to come back with a businest concept, right? They've got to
That's
bring
right.
something back to Indonesia.
yeah.
They have to study 4 years their country.
yeah.
And one of the biggest thing is they have to find the one concept.
Wow. And so
And those two boys, the concept was the Cupbop.
they said, yeah. So they said, this is it. That we're going to bring this back.
Yeah, their company, his family owned like 200 cars. He got Lamborghini, Ferrari, everywhere. But I thought they had a poor family, so I gave a free Cupbop, and I said, like, hey, give me money back, man. You rich enough.
That's incredible. So do the deal with those guys, very popular in Indonesia. It's
Yep.
coming up on 60 stores now. You
Yeah,
guys,
yeah.
you guys are in, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, Texas,
Colorado.
Oklahoma, Colorado.
Yep. Arizona.
Idaho.
Idaho.
So you're expanding.
Yep.
What's the vision? Where does Cupbop go from here? You're at, just under 60 stores.
Yep.
You got the international presence. Like when you're looking forward 5 years from now, 10 years from now,
Yep.
like when somebody thinks of Cupbop, what are they going to see and what are they going to experience?
Yeah, I think kind of in a nutshell, our dream has always been to build a national brand. Now you can define national brands differently, but I guess just in our own heads, trying to quantify it as best as we can, we thought we got to get into the top QSR 50. QSR's,
Yep.
quick service restaurant. There's a list, with various different factors, and thought we're going to be the first brand to get into the QSR 50. Because if you're in the QSR 50, for sure, you're definitely a national brand. And so that's kind of been the goal.
And that's how big would you have to be to kind of crack those ranks?
Depends on a number of different factors. I think, as far as number of stores, overall sales, all of that go into effect, obviously. But you're going to have to, I mean, I would think at a minimum, 500 plus
Okay.
type
So
of
you've got to
stores
go
doing.
be 10
you
times as
you gotta
big.
be,
Yeah.
a billion at least plus in sales, things like that to get in. But why not?
And sales are what today?
Sales right now, I think system wide, I would say is probably closer to 40
million of
right
top
now.
line. Yeah.
So there's a long way to go, but it's just like anything. The first 10 is by far the toughest.
Yeah.
And then the next 10 is the next hardest. Once you get to a certain scale,
The systems and processes
yes,
and the
there will
product market fit and
absolutely.
the marketing and the brand.
Yep,
All those things are in place.
There will become a point where it will be a lot easier. We're still battling it every day, like every entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's a grind. But that's what we have to love about running a business.
Talk to me about Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And this idea. I remember we were sitting around and you guys came with this idea that you wanted to be on Shark Tank. And I can remember I'm just like, why would you want to be on Shark Tank? Like, but you guys just had this passion for it. You ended up doing it, and it was really fun and also like really successful.
It ended up being actually great for us, for the company. And, it was Jung's idea. My thought was, when I used to be an investor, I used to always ask the CEO or the COO or whoever that, part of my job was meeting with, the C management of all the companies that, I had invested in. Well, the questions are always, hey, what keeps you up at night? What is it? And if I were to ask that question to myself at the time, it was, man, if somebody copies our brand, copies our concept, raises like 50 million plus bucks, just go blitz, then all of a sudden they could be recognized as the first mover.
Yeah.
And even though we'd started much earlier, they're in the spotlight. And that was what was kind of keeping me up at night at the time. And I was talking to Jung and said, we gotta find a way to get some national exposure. I don't know
establish yourself as like
we gotta establish and concrete ourselves as that first Korean QSR brand.
Yeah.
How do we do that? And Jung said, oh, that's easy. I was like, you have an answer? He's like, we get on Shark Tank. And I thought, Shark Tank? And the more I thought about it, I thought, that actually might work. Like, we do get exposure, and look, we are a consumer brand.
Yeah.
Right? And we'll connect with the viewers of the show. It's obviously a very popular, show that's on national television. And so I thought, sure. That actually sounds good. If we can get on, how do we get on?
Yeah.
So that day we applied.
Yeah, and we Googled right there. And there was this application, and the first application has like 3 questions. It's like, what's the name of the company? What do you do? And like one more question. Like, is this even the real thing? Like, how do they even figure out after this? But it was on the website, and so we submitted that. I think a few weeks later, we got a call from the producer saying, hey, you want to go through the interview process? And it's a long process.
Usually they don't call you back.
Yeah.
Oh, most of them, yeah. Oh, it's so competitive to get on because the amount of marketing and exposure that you get from Shark Tank is unbelievable, right? And so, and we went through the process. We were fortunate enough to, you got to do like the video submission. You got to pitch in front of the producers, executive producers. And then you might go to the end, actually film the show and not air.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them don't air.
Yep.
Right? But we ended up, airing, and we ended up getting that, that exposure as well. And
You guys
so,
smashed it. Like it was so fun. Like if anybody
fun.
goes and you've got some time, you go watch it. It was so fun to, because I've been a part of it from the get-go,
Yeah.
and not very actively ever, always just
Right.
kind of cheering from the sidelines.
Absolutely.
And trying to support where I can support. But to see you guys out there and to be able to like tell the story, and I think the thing for me that I've always been attracted to with Cupbop is the authenticity and the energy. That there's tremendous authentic energy that you bring, that it's not artificial.
Yeah.
You're not faking it. It's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even when I see you guys, you'll have a Cupbop shirt, you'll have a Cupbop
Always.
hat, and but I think that matters, that you are so proud
Oh, yeah.
of the company that you built, that you're willing to rep the brand and to just say, like, we're building something super special. And I remember for me, when I went to Vivint, Todd Peterson would always have a Vivint hat, always. And he, back then it was Apex. But I remember me being on the fence of, should I work here or not work there? And I really admired him as a leader, but I also admired, like, he's proud
Yeah.
of the company that he's built, and he'll let everybody know, I'm proud of this. And I think that's something that I always just admire about you guys so much, is this isn't something that you go do during the day and then you put it away and you go.
Oh, no.
It truly is like a part of your identity, and you built this culture that
Oh,
that
100%.
people love to be a part of. They love to be associated with. And I look at like the TikTok following, I look at the marketing, I look at the social media, and there's just a lot of people that are drawn to it. And I think it's the authenticity and the energy.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's 100% correct, because we can have the funny TikTok videos, we can have all the clever social marketing clips out there and whatnot, but for that to last, you have to have authenticity, and you have to connect with the customers on a genuine, authentic level.
Yeah.
Or it's not gonna last.
Yeah.
And you will go to a grand opening and you'll see Jung dancing with the $5.99 sign all day long.
I mean, I've seen it. Like it's so fun for me to see the energy and again, like the thing that I've always admired about Jung, and the thing that's always made me endeared to Jung, is how much he loves people.
Oh,
And you can feel
yes.
it. You can feel it.
Yes.
Everybody can feel it. When you'll do a grand opening and he just makes people feel special. He makes them laugh. He
does.
makes them
He's so
smile.
good.
And that's just such an attractive quality. And so I admire that about you.
Thank you.
So before we finish up, if you could go back and you could tell a young Jung that's starting his entrepreneurial career, or a young Dok that's starting over, what advice would you give yourself with the experiences you have? Like, what advice would you go back and give yourself if you could counsel yourself when you were just getting started?
Don't think too much,
Don't overthink it.
because if you think too much, sometimes a lot of negative things come into your mouth, so you can't do anything. I told you this story. When I think about the trucks, I bought the truck the same day. And if I want to, when I have a idea, hey, this is my problem. I have to wake up all night, every night. What's the problems? Shark Tank. Hey, let's apply. So when I think, I just do actions right away. Doesn't matter I can do well or not. It doesn't matter. Because don't think too much. What if this? What if I fail? Acting is going to be slowly. So if I go back to Jung, hey, just keep doing it like that. Because we talk about me and Dog, hey, Hyung. Hyung means old brother. Hey, Hyung, if you want to go back to 10 years, do you want to change anything? Do you want to do some, you want to go back to 10 years? I just told him, no, I don't want to.
You don't have any regrets.
Yeah,
You-
because
you're
I
proud.
can do better than that.
Yeah.
This is I did my best.
Yeah.
So if I can go back 10 years, I can't change anything because I did my best.
Yeah.
Zero regret.
That's like I don't know, like if you were giving like the speech on your deathbed, I don't know if you could have like something that you'd be more proud of, is to say like, I don't have any regrets. I did my best.
Yeah.
I worked my hardest. I didn't leave anything on the field. So
Right.
yeah, that's so cool. What about yourself, Doc?
I think one thing that I've learned a lot, what I would tell myself would be, you don't know as much as you think you know. It's really been a very humbling experience of changing industries and trying to grow a business. Just coming from my background, I think I always had thought of, hey, yeah, look, I've been at Goldman, I've been at Citadel. I've always kind of had that investor hat on, just because that was the way I was raised. And over the last few years, I've came to really understand how much of a gap there is between investors and operators.
Yeah, but to touch on that, that's a very powerful skill set to have both.
Yeah.
To have been an operator.
Yep.
And to know how hard it is to operate.
Because it's very, very different, right? Because I was used to, I would meet with, for example, a CEO of Caterpillar, right? It's a massive $70 billion plus company. And I'd meet with their CEO once every quarter.
Wow. Just because you guys had a massive position in there.
Yeah. And we would have a one-on-one meeting. And I remember, I was still that kind of 24-year-old kid at the time. And I would say, hey, look, this is what needs to happen. You need to do this. You need to do this. The street's looking for this. You're not, like, the story is confusing right now. You got to do this. This is how you need
And
to.
you think he's just looking at you
And
like,
now it's embarrassing. It's honestly embarrassing to think about that.
Say sorry.
I am sorry for him to look at me, this young kid who doesn't know anything, and somebody who thinks he can solve everything inside a spreadsheet, telling me what to do with my business. It's something that they have so much experience in. And that was such an eye-opener that, wow, there's a massive gap.
yeah.
And having now been an operator, you'll become a much better investor.
Yeah.
Much better investor. And so that's been eye-opening. And I think another lesson that I've learned is, I think part of a lot of people who thought I was crazy when I told them I was going to resign from Citadel is, hey, you're leaving all that glamour behind. Like, to get into Citadel is, you just don't.
It's hard.
It's
really hard to get into.
Extremely hard, right? And when I first told people that I was joining a food concept, a restaurant concept, they were like, what? Like, are you out of your mind? Like, my brother was one of them. He's like, you're effing crazy. He got pissed at me, And one thing that I've really realized is, there are all the glamours of the tech, there's all these different industries, whether it be finance, tech, that people naturally gravitate towards just because, okay, it looks like the paychecks are high there, that. The number of opportunities in other more, let's say, underserved, underrated markets is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
The gap in arbitrage between
and I
what
thought,
you can pay and what they could be worth if you optimize. Yeah.
Right. And just brands like Cupbop, a great brand that you can get in on early and scale.
But you guys see that all the time, even in the stores that you buy, getting a second generation store and getting scrappy.
It was mind-boggling to learn that.
Yeah.
Because, number one, I didn't really have, it was my first kind of restaurant experience as well, working, inside the restaurant industry, but just kind of being able to see all these different opportunities. Because I think right now, the new generation, especially guys who work hard in school, this and that, they have tendencies to think, man, Wall Street, tech, you know, AI with all these booms, that's the only way.
Yeah.
And it's like,
No, so this, you know, our business will have high net worth people write us
Right.
checks. So it's not institutions and endowments and foundations. It's kind of family offices and high net worths.
yeah,
And there's been a lot, hundreds at this
Yeah.
point, you know, kind of high hundreds. And that's been the single most impactful learning that I've had from this process is who has money and who doesn't have money.
yeah.
And there's a lot of ways to create
there is
capital
exactly
in the most unique niches and corners of
Yes.
industries. And there's actually a tremendous amount of money to be made in really boutique niche
100%.
markets. And it's fun to see these
100%.
innovative, almost like simple, intuitive solutions that just no one's seeing. They're kind of hiding in plain sight.
Right.
And somebody picks it out and goes and capitalizes on it. It's
Right.
really fun.
So that's been a great learning experience for me.
Before we finish up, what is the best store you've ever opened out of the 60, you know, all the U.S. stores?
Orem store.
Orem store.
Orem store.
So give me the like the origins or like how did this happen?
Think it was some sandwich shops. What was it?
Former Potbelly.
It was the Potbelly store got closed. Starbucks, Chipotle right next to it. And I applied. Think everybody want to apply taking that spot. And I talked to property management, showing my energy. If you're not choose me, you're gonna regret.
I love
Learn
that.
from these guys. hey, I love you guys so much. I'm the local brand. You need to support the local guys. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I can chance to open this store, I'll make a great culture store here. Not just selling food. I wanna showing what kind of energy we got.
Yeah.
And I think he loved that pitch. So I taking that spot, open up.
It's been a great store for us.
Yeah.
Number one store.
Number
Right
one
now, yeah,
store.
number one store.
It's incredible.
But
Yeah.
my favorite store is the Provo store.
Yeah.
Little tiny one.
Yeah, the Provo store is such a fun story because you take BYU
Right.
and everything that goes with BYU, but your total dollars into that store were how much?
$65,000. I open it.
$65,000.
Yeah. They do
Very-
$70,000 to $80,000 per month.
Very
I mean,
great
for sure,
store.
like one of the
Yeah,
as
best
far
returns.
as return on capital, that's
The
gotta be
margins are
Absolutely.
50%.
Yeah, very good store.
So that's my favorite store.
Well, fellas, so excited for the next steps of the journey. I think right now it feels like we've done a lot, but I think when you look back a
Yeah.
year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, I think it'll be funny
Oh,
to
we haven't
say,
even
hey,
scratched
you know,
the
like
surface.
I really don't think
we
you got
haven't even
started.
scratched
Invite
the
us
surface.
again.
Yep,
After
can't-
2 years.
Can't wait. Yep. Can't wait to have you guys back. Thank you for coming, and just know that we're cheering for you. And we're all big Cupbop fans. So
Thank
thank
you.
you guys.
Thank you for having us.
here.
Thank you, Casey.